Jackson lived alone in a small apartment above his workshop. He was a quiet man, working long hours fixing machines and repairing old tech. He didn't have many friends, and his days were always the same: eat, work, sleep, repeat. One evening, while scrolling through a strange online market, something caught his eye. Smart Pet Companion, limited edition, feels real. Only 99 credits. The picture showed a small figure, shaped like a person but described as a pet. It said it could learn, speak, and even help with chores. Jackson raised an eyebrow. Sounds weird, but I could use some company, he mumbled. He clicked buy. 3 days later, a large black box arrived at his door. No name, no label. Just one message printed in red. Do not open until initialization is complete. Jackson shrugged. That's normal for advanced tech, he thought. But then the box moved. He froze. A soft thump came from inside, followed by a weak noise. It sounded like ... a whimper. Jackson stepped back. What the hell? Another thump. Then, clearly this time a voice. Please don't send me back. His heart jumped. That wasn't some smart speaker. That was a real voice. Ignoring the warning, Jackson grabbed his tools and broke the lock. The box hissed open, releasing a faint cold mist. Inside was something he had never expected. A girl. Small, thin, and curled up like she had been in the dark for days. Her skin had a soft blue glow, and her hair was silver and messy. She wore torn clothes and a metal collar around her neck. Her eyes slowly opened, glowing faintly in the dark. Jackson blinked. Unable to speak. The girl looked up at him, her voice shaking. Are you my new owner? Jackson felt like someone had punched the air out of his chest. What are you? He asked. I am Unit X99, she whispered. Smart Pet Companion, version 3.1. You're not a pet, you're alive. She tilted her head, confused. I was trained to behave. I can cook, clean, stay quiet, and obey. Please don't send me back. Jackson pulled her gently out of the box. Her hands were cold, her feet were bare. She looked more like a lost child than a robot. I'm not going to hurt you, he said softly. She smiled weakly. That's what the last one said. Jackson's stomach turned. He checked her collar. A small screen flashed red. Low life support. Immediate recharge required. I need to get this off you, Jackson said. She panicked. No. If you remove it, I might shut down. Please just let me stay on. Jackson carefully carried her inside. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. He laid her on his couch and ran to get some food and water. But when he returned, she hadn't moved. Hey, are you okay? He asked. Her eyes flickered. I'm tired, so tired. He tried to feed her a small piece of fruit. At first, she hesitated, then slowly ate. Her face lit up. This tastes real, she whispered. Thank you. Don't mention it, Jackson said, still trying to understand what he had brought into his home. Later that night, he opened the box again to see if there were any instructions. He found a manual, sealed in a black envelope. Inside it read, Model X99 Smart Organic Companion Warning. For private use only. No returns, no refunds. If malfunction occurs, terminate. Immediately, Jackson stared at those words. Terminate? What kind of pet was this? He looked back at the girl. She had curled into a ball on the couch, sleeping peacefully, but still holding onto a pillow like it was her only safety in the world. He sat beside her and whispered to himself, what have I gotten myself into? Just then, her collar beeped. Again, warning, system failing, owner action required. Jackson stood up quickly. I need to fix this thing fast, or she die. But before he could grab his tools, she woke up with a small cry. Please. Don't let them take me back, please. He kneeled down beside her and took her hand. I won't, he promised. No one's taking you anywhere. Outside, the wind howled, and the night grew darker. But inside Jackson's apartment, a strange bond had begun. He didn't know what she really was or where she came from. But one thing was clear, she wasn't a pet. She was someone. Jackson woke up to a strange sound. Beep, beep, First, he thought it was one of his workshop machines. But when he sat up and looked toward the couch, he saw the glow coming from her collar. Warning, organic core unstable. Shutdown in progress. No. Jackson jumped out of bed and rushed to her side. Mira's face was pale, and her tiny body was shaking like a leaf. Her silver hair stuck to her damp forehead, and her breathing was fast and weak. "Stay with me, Mira. Just hold on," he whispered. She opened her glowing eyes slightly and smiled faintly. "You remembered my name," he nodded. "Of course I did. Now stop talking and save your energy." Jackson didn't care what the manual said. He wasn't going to terminate her like some broken device. He had fixed hundreds of machines in his life, but this was different. She wasn't a gadget. She was alive. He grabbed the screwdriver and carefully examined the collar. Dozens of micro wires were pulsing red, and a strange humming came from the base. It was locked with alien tech, something he had never seen before. "You're not a pet," he whispered. "You're something else." Mira's lips trembled. "I was made to be useful. That's all I am." "No," Jackson said firmly. "You're not just some tool. You think, feel, dream." She blinked slowly. "Dream ... I dreamed of stars last night." Jackson paused. "That didn't sound like programming. That sounded like memory." "Where are you from, Mira?" he asked softly. Her voice was fading. "I don't know. There was light, voices, then pain. They took everything. Then they sold me like meat." Jackson's hands clenched. "Who did this to you?" She couldn't answer. The collar beeped again, a high-pitched alarm now. "Final warning, termination in 2 minutes." He had no time. Jackson ran to his desk, grabbed a mini power core, and rushed back. He snapped off the collar's cover and rewired the energy lines to bypass the shutdown signal. The collar sparked, then hissed. Then went dark. Mira gasped and arched her back like she was finally able to breathe again. Then silence. The red lights disappeared. Her body relaxed. It worked. Jackson let out a long breath. "You're okay. You're safe now." She looked at him with new eyes that weren't just scared anymore. Eyes that held hope. "Why did you save me?" she asked. Jackson smiled. "Because someone should have. And I don't turn my back on people who need help." Mira sat up slowly, weak but awake. She touched her neck where the collar had been. "It feels light, like a piece of me is gone, but that piece wasn't mine." Jackson nodded. "That thing was never meant to stay on you." He helped her to the kitchen. She moved carefully, but with more strength now. He gave her warm soup. She stared at it like it was treasure, then drank slowly, savoring every drop. "I thought you'd be afraid of me," she said quietly. "Why?" Jackson asked. "Because I'm not human. And because I was made to obey." Jackson leaned back in his chair. "I've met humans who were worse than machines. Doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is who you choose to be." Mira smiled. For the first time it reached her eyes, but their peace didn't last long. That night, Jackson heard a knock at the door. A sharp, hard knock. He checked the screen. It was a man in a black coat, with no ID. His face was hidden, but his voice came through the speaker. "Mr. Jackson, I believe you received a package by mistake. It's very valuable. Open the door, and we'll collect it." Jackson turned off the screen. He looked at Mira. She had already grabbed his arm, eyes wide with fear. "Please, don't let them take me. I'll be good. I'll do anything. Just don't let them take me back." Jackson placed a hand on her shoulder. "They're not taking you. Not while I'm breathing." The knocking turned into banging. Outside, the man whispered into his wrist device. Target located. Begin retrieval. Asterisk. The lights in Jackson's apartment flickered. Then darkness. All power shut down. Not just the lights, everything. His tools. The heater. The doors. It wasn't a power cut. It was a lockdown. Nira sat on the couch holding her knees, frozen in fear. Jackson moved quickly to the window and peeked through the blinds. 3 black vans had parked across the street. Dark figures in strange armor moved silently toward his building. One held a scanner that beeped right at his door. They weren't police. They were hunters. They're here for me, Nira whispered. They always find me. Not this time, Jackson said. He grabbed a backpack and shoved in food, tools, and a small power cell. He turned to Nira. Can you run? I think so. He nodded, then pulled a metal panel off the floor, revealing a tunnel hatch he had built years ago during the city riots. This leads to the old sewer line, he explained. It's dirty, it stinks, but they won't expect it. Before they could enter, the front door hissed. Someone was overriding the lock. They had seconds. Go, Jackson said, pushing Nira into the hatch. He followed and slammed the panel shut just as the front door burst open. From above, they could hear boots stomping and metallic voices scanning the apartment. Target not found. Initiate deep search. In the tunnel, water dripped from old pipes. The air was cold and thick. Nira followed close behind Jackson, her feet splashing softly as they moved. I'm sorry, she said. He looked back. For what? For pulling you into my nightmare. Jackson shook his head. You didn't pull me in. I jumped. After a long walk, they surfaced through a rusty exit behind an old train station. Jackson helped Nira climb out, and for the first time in days, she saw the stars. She stared at them. I know those stars, she said softly. That one. And that one. They were above my home, you remember? Just little pieces, like broken glass. I was happy there. Jackson placed his jacket over her shoulders. We'll get more of those memories back, but first, we need to hide. They moved into the dark corners of the station, where old trains rested like sleeping beasts. One of them, Train 170, was Jackson's secret workshop. He opened the door and turned on a small lantern. Welcome to my second home, he smiled. Nira looked around. It was dusty but warm, full of tools, wires, and half-built robots. It felt alive. Why do you help me? She asked. You don't even know me. Jackson paused. I know you're scared. I know you were hurt. And I know what it's like to feel alone. Nira didn't speak for a moment. Then, she slowly stepped closer and hugged him. He froze, not because it was wrong, but because it felt right. No one had hugged Jackson in years. I trust you, she said quietly. And that scares me. He gently returned the hug. Then, we'll be scared together. But peace didn't last long. Nira sat near an old generator, her collar lying beside her now. Jackson decided to examine it again. Maybe it held answers. When he opened the inner layer, he found a hidden chip. It was glowing red. It was a tracker. Jackson's face went pale. Nira, she looked up. He held up the chip. This thing. It's been sending your location the whole time, she gasped. I didn't know. I swear. I believe you. But now we have even less time. Just then, the lantern flickered. A loud sound echoed outside. Jackson grabbed the scanner and looked. Through the metal wall, a drone hovered outside the station, and it wasn't alone. 5 more followed. They're here. Jackson shouted. We have to move now. Nira's hands trembled. They'll catch us. Jackson took her hand tightly. Not if you run with me. Do you trust me? She nodded. Together, they bolted out the side door of the train, slipping into shadows as red scanner lights swept across the station. Above them, the drones searched like hungry eyes. One nearly spotted them until Jackson threw a power cell into a pile of metal. It exploded with a sharp blast, drawing the drones away. They ran down the railway, hearts pounding, breath sharp. "Where are we going?" Nira asked, to someone who might know what you really are. Nira stood still. The wind blew softly across the desert hill as the stars twinkled above. But her eyes weren't looking at the sky. They were wide, frozen, staring at a strange rock formation in the sand. Her lips moved without sound. Then came a whisper. "I've been here before." Jackson turned, surprised. "What did you say?" She stepped closer to the rocks, her fingers brushing against the surface. "I saw this place in my dreams, every night. But I thought it wasn't real." They had escaped the train station just hours ago and found shelter in the outskirts of Sector 12, where old mining towns were buried under dust and silence. Jackson brought her here to meet someone he trusted, an old alien tech dealer named Tormund who lived alone in the ruins. But before they reached Tormund's bunker, Nira froze at this strange place. "There was a ship here," she whispered. "I can see it. Fire, screaming. Someone was holding me ... Jackson walked closer. "Are you remembering something?" She touched her head. "It hurts, but ... yes. I remember stars. And metal ... and hands pulling me away from someone I loved." Jackson's chest tightened. It was happening. Her memories were returning. Suddenly, her knees gave out. She collapsed into the sand. "Nira!" He caught her just in time. Her body shook, and her eyes glowed brighter than ever. "Make it stop. Please, make it stop." He held her gently. "It's okay. You're safe. You're not alone anymore." Suddenly, a voice came from behind them. "She's remembering the overwrite." Jackson turned quickly, pulling Nira behind him. A tall alien male with purple eyes and a silver cloak stepped from the shadows. It was Tormund. "She was programmed to forget," Tormund said. "But the mind never fully forgets what the heart refuses to lose." Jackson stood up. "You said you could help her. Start talking." Tormund nodded and motioned toward a hidden doorway under the rocks. "Bring her inside, quickly." Inside the bunker, the walls were covered in alien tech, blinking softly with green and blue lights. It smelled of dust and burnt wires. Tormund led them into a small room and pointed at a round seat. "Put her there. Let the neural net scan her." Jackson helped Nira sit. The chair lit up. A soft pulse spread through her body. Suddenly, a screen appeared. Images flashed, memories, some clear, some broken. A starship, a family, a throne, a fire, then a lab table, screaming, wires forced into her skin. A cold voice saying, "Wipe the core, strip her name, make her useful." Jackson's fists clenched. "What the hell is this?" Tormund replied, voice serious. "She's not a pet. She's not a toy. She's a stolen child of a royal house." The X-99 line were illegal clones designed to erase who they once were. Jackson looked at Nira. Her eyes were open now, and tears ran down her cheeks. "They took my name," she said. "I don't know who I am." Jackson knelt in front of her. "You're Nira. That's who you chose to be, not what they made you." She looked at him, voice shaking. "Do you still want me? After knowing this?" Jackson didn't even pause. "I never wanted a smart pet, Nira. I wanted someone real. You've been that since the moment you whispered, 'Please don't send me back.'" Tormund touched a button, and the scan ended. "The tracker is now removed. She is clean. But they won't stop hunting her." Jackson stood. "Then we'll make them stop." Tormund raised an eyebrow. "You'd go that far? For someone you barely know?" Jackson looked at Nira. She wasn't trembling anymore. She was sitting upright, stronger now, braver. "I know enough," Jackson said, "and I'd do it again." Suddenly, the bunker's alarm blared. A red light flashed on the wall. Warning, incoming craft detected. Tormund looked at the screen. They found her again. You two have to go, now. Jackson grabbed Nira's hand. Can you run? He asked. She stood on her own this time. No, she said softly. He turned to her, confused. She smiled. This time, I'll fly. Asterisk, the ship wasn't supposed to fly. It had no name. Half its panels were missing. And a family of birds had once lived in the cockpit. But tonight it roared to life. Jackson sat beside Nira, eyes wide as the old alien craft shook the desert ground. Sand swirled around them, and the engines howled like ancient beasts waking from sleep. You said you couldn't fly. Jackson shouted over the noise. Nira smiled as her fingers danced across the glowing alien console. I remembered how. Behind them, red searchlights sliced through the night sky. Black hunter ships moved in, silent but deadly, like sharks in the air. Inside Tormund's hidden bunker, alarms screamed louder. Target lock, incoming strike, hold on. Nira yelled. The ship lifted off, shaky at first, then smooth like. It had always known the stars. They shot upward, just as a missile exploded. Where the bunker had been. Jackson watched the flames in the rear view. Tormund. He whispered. I know, Nira said quietly. He bought us time. But the time was running out. 2 hunter drones locked onto them and gave chase. Their sleek black bodies had no windows, just scanners, weapons, and orders to bring back Nira alive. Or destroy her if she resisted. Can this old ship outfly them? Jackson asked, gripping the seat. No, Nira said, but I can outthink them. She twisted a dial, and the ship flipped upside down, shooting between 2 narrow canyons. Laser blasts followed, carving glowing lines into the rocks. They're gaining, Jackson shouted. Nira didn't panic. Her silver hair whipped in the wind as she pushed the ship lower, just inches above the desert floor. One of the drones followed too fast, too close until it hit the canyon wall and exploded in a blinding light. One down, she said coldly. 1 to go. The second drone stayed on their tail. Jackson turned and grabbed a manual turret control. He aimed carefully, waiting until the drone got close enough. Come on. Closer now, he fired. The blast hit the drone's wing. It spiraled, smoking, but didn't crash. Instead, it pulled back and vanished into the clouds. Retreating? Jackson asked. Nira shook her head. No, it's tracking, watching, waiting for backup. She turned the ship toward a dead zone, an area with no satellites, no scans, no signals. It was called the Gray Stretch, a place where even light seemed to get lost. We'll hide here, she said, for now. Inside the ship, silence. Return. Jackson sat beside Nira as the ship floated in low orbit above a broken moon. The stars looked different here, dimmer, more distant. Nira stared out the window. They'll never stop hunting me, she said. They'll have to go through me first, Jackson replied. She looked at him. You're just one human, he smiled. You're not just one alien. They both laughed softly, but it didn't last. Nira stood and walked to the control room. Her fingers moved like they had before. Jackson followed. What are you doing? She didn't answer at first. Then she pressed her hand to a glowing blue panel. The ship responded. A hidden drawer opened, and inside was a sealed crystal chip. She lifted it carefully. It pulsed with a quiet light. What is that? Jackson asked. My memory, or at least a piece of it. She placed it into a slot. The ship's screen lit up, and for the first time, they saw it. A young version of Nira, standing beside a tall woman with a crown made of stars, her mother. She was a queen, Nira whispered. And I was her daughter. The image shifted to fire. The same ship, this ship being attacked. A voice screamed, "Protect the air!" Then the screen went black. Jackson leaned against the wall. You're not just a girl on the run, he said slowly. You're the lost royal of a powerful race. She turned to him. And they erased me so no one would know. If I stay alive, someone's throne is in danger. Then we find that someone, we make them pay. Nira smiled, a fire in her eyes now. Then, we don't run anymore. We fight. She stood in silence, barefoot on cold metal, staring at her reflection, not in a mirror, but in the ship's polished window, with the stars behind her and the soft blue glow of her skin casting a faint light. The collar was gone. The fear was fading. And for the first time, Nira saw herself not as a thing but as someone. I was never a pet, she whispered. They made me believe I was less, so I'd never rise again. Behind her, Jackson watched quietly. He didn't speak. He didn't interrupt. He just stood there, like a shield at her back, letting her remember who she really was. Then, she turned to face him. My mother was the High Queen of Talreen. I was her only daughter. The next heir to a star-born empire, Jackson nodded. And someone wanted that throne bad enough to erase you. They didn't just erase me, she said, her voice sharp now. They turned me into a product, sold me in a box. Trained me to smile and obey. She stepped closer to him. But you didn't treat me like property, Jackson. You fed me when I was starving. You looked me in the eyes when no one else would. He tried to smile, but his eyes were heavy. You're royalty. I'm just a mechanic from Earth. Nira smiled faintly. You're the only one who didn't treat me like a tool. That makes you more than anything royal blood ever gave me. Jackson didn't reply. He just gently took her hand. Later, they opened the royal crystal again. This time, Nira accessed its core data. Star maps, names, family lines, command codes, all tied to her bloodline. But something new appeared. A warning. Executor Thalos. Emergency protocol active. Jackson narrowed his eyes. Who's Thalos? Nira's face darkened. The man who led the attack on my family. My mother's own advisor. He declared her unfit to rule. Claimed I died in the fire, then took control of the throne. Jackson cursed it under his breath. And now you're alive and he knows it. If I step forward, he loses everything. So he'll try to kill you first. Nira nodded. Jackson stepped toward the ship's console and placed his hand on it. Then we make the first move. They jumped into hyperflight straight toward a hidden relay satellite orbiting a quiet red moon. Tormund had given Jackson the coordinates before he died, saying it could be used to send encrypted messages to the outer empires. Nira sat at the ship's console, uploading her recovered memory and bloodline claim into the system. The message would go across dozens of worlds. If even one loyal family receives this, Nira said, they will rise against Thalos. As the message uploaded, red alarms flashed. Jackson looked at the screen. Multiple heat signatures approaching. Ships. Big ones, not drones. Warcraft. He found us faster than expected, Jackson muttered. Nira's voice was calm now. Then he's scared. 3 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace. They had no markings, only black armor and heavy weapons. A message came through. This is Executor Thalos. You are carrying illegal royal code and a stolen asset. Hand her over, and I may spare your life, human. Nira stepped into view of the screen. I am not an asset. I am Nira of Talreen, daughter of Queen Vela, and I am coming home. There was a pause. Then the enemy ships powered their weapons. You should not have remembered. Nira turned to Jackson, voice firm. We can't win in a fight. Not yet, but we can finish the message. Just hold them off for 60 more seconds. Jackson rushed to the ship's turret control and took a deep breath. Then let's make these 60 seconds count. Smoke filled the cockpit. Warning lights flashed red, and Jackson was still standing. His hands gripped the turret controls, jaw clenched, arms burning. He had destroyed 2 attack drones, disabled a warship's left engine, and taken 3 hits to the shields. But the ship was breaking. The engines screamed. The walls trembled. Fire licked at the vents. Behind him, Nira clutched the console, watching the upload bar crawl forward. 87%. 88%. She looked at him, his back hunched. Sweat on his neck, blood on his temple, and her voice cracked. You can still run. There's an escape pod. You don't have to stay. Jackson didn't look back. Yes, I do. Another blast shook the ship. The lights dimmed. 91%. 92%. Why? She asked. Why do this for me? I'm not even human. Jackson finally turned. His voice was calm, clear. Because you were the only one who looked at me like I was more than what I am. He stepped toward her, smoke curling around his feet. I don't care if you're royalty. I don't care if you're alien. I care that you cried when you tasted soup. I care that you dream. I care that you wanted to live when no one else thought you should. Nira's lip trembled. They'll kill you, maybe, he said. But I'll die knowing I chose you. 98%. 99%. Suddenly, a direct hit slammed the ship sideways. Nira fell. Jackson caught her. A burst of static sounded, and the screen flickered to life. A cold voice said, "Final warning. Surrender her now." Nira stepped forward, blood on her lip, fire in her eyes. She faced the screen. I am not surrendering. I am not property, and I am not alone. She slammed the transmit button. 100%. Message sent. A wave of blue light burst from the ship's relay system, streaking into space like a flare. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the enemy ships turned. Nira stared. They're retreating? Jackson checked the radar. Dozens of ships marked with the Royal Talreen symbol were warping in from deep space. Tormund's message had reached them. Her people were rising. They heard me, she whispered. They're coming to take the throne back. Suddenly, the ship gave out one final groan and the floor collapsed beneath them. Later, Shin woke up to soft light. He was on a royal medical bed, patched up, clean, and alive. At first, he thought it was a dream until she walked in. Nera. No collar. No fear. Wearing a long blue cloak trimmed in silver, the royal crest glowing on her chest, she sat beside him and smiled gently. I told them I wouldn't take the crown unless you were there beside me. Jackson blinked. Wait, what? I don't need a throne, she said. I need someone who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He looked into her eyes. You're serious? She leaned in closer. You bought a box, you found a person. And now you have a home. Nira was crowned Queen of Talreen. Her return sparked change across the stars. Slave markets were shut down. The cloning project was destroyed. Thalos vanished, his empire crumbled. And Jackson? He stayed by her side, not as her master, not as her servant, but as her equal. Some said it was strange. A human and an alien queen. But to Nira, it made perfect sense. He didn't see what she was made to be. He saw who she truly was.